All right, gentlemen. So today we're going to talk about escalation. So this is just moving things forward with the girl. That's all that is. If you're not into pickup, if you're not into any of that shit, all escalation is just like making things happen. Getting it more sexual, getting it more romantic, all that type of shit, okay? Escalation basics, okay? This is going to be very basic, and you just got to understand that you don't need to perfectly escalate to get some sex, okay? Like, you just got to turn her on. And that's ultimately what the point of escalation is. The point of escalation is not to get a win. It's not to get sex from her so that you can feel good about it. It's so that you can turn her on and make her realize you're not a fucking chump. Okay? That's all you're trying to do. That's the entire purpose. And so the reason guys escalate well up until the point where they get sex and they don't keep the girl after that is because they get complacent, they get soft after they had sex because they were so tied to the emotions of having sex, right? And that is it. You know, I need you to stand out and be different, okay? You need to just turn her on and just show her you're not a pussy. That's all you're trying to do. So all you got to do is focus on being comfortable and smooth, making sure she's comfortable, being smooth. And smooth doesn't mean you always say the right thing. It just means that not a lot of bad shit happens. When things come up, they roll off your back. It's just like passing a shit test. When you're escalating, things are going to happen. She's going to be like, oh no, I'm not comfortable with that. Okay, totally cool. You just back off. You're like, all right, whatever. All good. Let's keep having fun. Your ability to maintain fun is what will actually determine whether or not you escalate well or not. Okay, there's three pillars of escalation. There's physical, which is touching, verbal, which is your words, and logistical. And so logistical is just like how you move around, right? And how well you move around, how smoothly you move around. So whether you know it or not, you are doing all three of these things at the same time every time you move something forward. So say you go in to hug a girl, you know, you're physically escalating, obviously, but maybe you say something at the same time and you're verbally escalating, or maybe you're verbally de-escalating. You're like, oh, I fucking hate you. And then you give her a hug. And then logistically, maybe you're walking to another side of the bar when you do that or whatever, right? Like these are all happening at the same time. And so whether you know it's happening or not, you're doing it. And so escalation is not something you do. You're not doing the escalation to the girl, okay? It's not something you do to her. It's something that happens and you should control it. You should control which way it goes. You should make sure that it's escalating in the proper way. But as you spend time together, if you choose to move things forward, things will move forward and you can just choose to do that in a smooth way or not. So we're gonna talk about physical escalation first. Physical escalation, and this is how we avoid a fucking case, okay? Goes by a red light, yellow light, green light system, okay? Before I get into this at all, I just want you to know that escalation-wise, all you need to focus on is, did she give you a green light, so she leaned into you? Did she give you a yellow light, which means she was neutral when you did the thing? Or did she give you a red light and she tensed up or was uncomfortable or said no? Okay? All that means is that if you get a green light, you're good and she enjoyed that. Don't overdo it because you're not trying to escalate to get that level of intimacy from her. You're escalating just to show her you're not a pussy and she's telling you she's into it, okay? Then yellow light, you're escalating to show her you're not a pussy. She's kind of neutral about it. And so you can just back off and be like, hey, okay, she knows that I'm not a pussy now. Same thing with the red light, right? If she says no or rejects it, say, okay, all good. Like I don't take myself too seriously. It's fine. And then you can just relax. You can try later at like a lower level if you get a red light, but there's no reason to like push it, right? You don't need to be that fucking guy. And maybe you've been that guy. I know I have, where you just like keep trying to kiss a girl, keep trying to kiss her, and eventually she kisses you. That's not actually good escalation at all. That just makes her feel uncomfortable after. She feels like she was forced and pressured into kissing you. And then you're like stroking your fucking ego, being like, oh my God, I kissed the girl. Oh, let's go. I kissed her. That means she likes me. No, it doesn't. It just means she let you kiss her. That's it. That's all it means. Okay. So let's get into part two of physical escalation. So physical touch, right? When you touch, be deliberate and strong. Okay, I'm going to show some examples. I'm going to turn my cam on and show you some examples of some soft touches and some very certain touches. Okay, and I want to really show that to you because it's very important that you guys understand this shit. Okay, it's so fucking critical because you need to be very soft but certain with your soft touches, and your heavier touches need to be very dominant and in control but not aggressive. Okay, so I want you to start obviously with slow, soft touching at first, maybe caressing her like lower back or just like playfully shoving her away. Like it all depends on how you calibrate, okay? But I want you to keep this mindset in mind that escalating with a woman is not a win, okay? Like it's not a win to kiss the girl, right? It's not a win. That's not what that is. And so when you treat it like a win, you're going to act like it is. And so you're going to be all like happy after she kisses you and shit. And it's just, there's no reason for it, right? I never kiss a girl before I have sex with her, really. And so I'm going to swap over to my actual cam and show you guys exactly what I mean. So if you're like holding hands, right, do this shit. Like soft little, see, it's like my hand is very certain. I'm very smooth. I'm not like, oh, I'm trying not to like be too obvious or whatever. I'm not like, oh, shaking. I'm doing it. Okay. When you're caressing like a part of her body, just be very smooth about it. Okay. I'm trying to like show you guys, but that kind of movement, not like, oh, is this okay? Oh my God. Like you go to touch it. Oh, like be like dainty about it. Don't do that. There's no reason for that. You can just do this. You don't need to be like super aggressive and like forceful and grabby. Just, you know, if you playfully shove, it's like, oh yeah, whatever. It's fine, right? Those are things that you can do. If you have some questions, I can probably show you guys at some point. I can probably get a girl or get even Troy and we can just get in a room and show you some of the physical escalation stuff, but just like what it looks like. But the whole point is that I don't want you guys like being too much. Like, don't be too much. If you can verbally escalate and just a little bit physically escalate, just show her you're not a bitch. Literally to a point where you just show her you're not a pussy. So like get to the point where she knows you could kiss her and she can tell you have the confidence to do it. You're just not going to. That shows a lot of restraint. It's actually very attractive. Okay. So that's really what I want you guys to hold on to from this one. Now, here's some ways you could escalate. Okay. And this is not a fucking script. Okay. I am not giving you a script. There is no script for this. Okay. You have to, I don't care if you are autistic. I don't care if you struggle reading social cues. You need to get better at calibration. You know, you can always get better at reading social calibration and being socially calibrated no matter what you have going on in your head. Okay. It's not an excuse. Okay. So this is not a script. This is not something you can follow to like turn women on immediately, but I can talk to you about how to escalate. Okay. So first you can be like, oh wow, you're like not too bad. And you give like a side hug, right? Maybe you establish some tension early in the interaction and you're like, oh, well, I'm not so sure about you. She says something you like and you're like, oh, you're not too bad. And then give her a hug, right? Give her a side hug. You could also be like, shut the fuck up and playfully shove her away, right? Those are ways to escalate. You always can escalate. Notice how I'm like spiking emotions somehow. Like I'm saying something that could bring up an emotion in her when I escalate. So it's not just like I'm this weird guy. I'm going to turn my camera on again and like try to touch the camera. I'm not this weird guy going like, oh, I touched her, you know, because that's weird, right? We don't want that. And so what we're going to do with you guys is we're just going to playfully banter, get her emotions up when we're doing the escalation. Okay, because it's an experience. It's not like the escalation is a big part of it. I know that guys, we're very touchy. We want to touch women. They're hot. They're sexy. At the end of the day, it can't be the thing you're focused on. Okay, I know that even if you want to have tons of sex, you can't be focused on touching the woman. Okay, you cannot. All right. You can do the whole how big are your hands thing. I can just show you what that is too. Like, oh, like how big are your hands? Oh, hold up my hand. Oh man, your hands are tiny. And then like maybe like try to hold her hand after or whatever. Or you could even be like, oh, this is like the cheesiest way to hold a girl's hand like ever. but it's funny. And then you like hold her hand, whatever, right? You could actually do that. You could also hold your hand out for her to take it. I'm going to try to show this one to you as well. So you could just literally be like I usually do it, you know, you guys are up high. So usually I'm like maybe this tall or something. And I'll just like be down here around my waist. And I will hold my hand out like that while I'm making eye contact with her like this. Okay. And that's another one that you can do. Let's see. You can hold her by the waist and pull her in, but don't kiss her. Maybe pull her in really close, look really deep into her eyes. This is like obviously way more hardcore. When she's given you signs and giving you green lights in the past, don't be a fucking idiot. Okay. I can't repeat this enough. Don't be a fucking dumbass. But you can pull her in by the waist or hold her by the waist and pull her in a little bit look down at her lips and just maybe lean in for a second and don't kiss her, right? Or you can literally tell her when she's close to you, just be like, come here. And like tell her to come to you to kiss you. And that's like it's a really like dominant alpha way to do that. Okay. So the whole point of this is like, start slow. I mean, this isn't a fucking script. I've already said it, but like I'm actually so serious. Like, don't turn this into some fucking script. Okay. Like, oh, but I did what you said, Tim. I did what you said, and I said you're not too bad, and I fucking hugged her, and then I said shut the fuck up, and I playfully shoved her away, and then she thought it was weird, and she called the cops. Like, yeah, dude, because you're being fucking weird. Okay. Physical escalation is how you show her you're not a bitch, and that's it. Right? Like, I could fuck if I wanted to. Like, I could have sex if I wanted to. I'm totally capable of that, but I do not right now. Okay? It is not so you can look cool in front of other guys. It's not so you can show the other girls around you that you're very sexy and you can make out with other chicks. It's not so you can do this jealous middle schooler routine. Okay? It is so you can tell this girl, hey, I'm not a little bitch. All right? That's it. That's all you're trying to do. The guy that actually fucks a lot is super low key. Okay? The guy that's fucking a lot, there's like this whole thing of I'll just swap over cameras. There's this whole thing of like the guy that is in love with her leaves these like big I love you, oh, you're amazing on her Instagram post. The guy that's like dating her, or the guy that's like seeing her occasionally leaves like an emoji or something and like likes it, right? And the guy that's fucking her just scrolls past. Like, that's real G's move in silence. It's like Lil Wayne said, right? Real G's move in silence like lasagna. And so you need to start moving in silence like lasagna. Okay, it's not a big fucking deal. Stop making a big deal. Like the over obsession with escalation in the bar or in the club or with the girl on the date is it's just overcompensation from us being kind of shit with women for a long time. And so now that we can be good with women, we're trying to overcompensate, and there's no point in even having it. Okay, so let's talk about verbal escalation now. First we're going to talk about your energy. So dominant daddy energy is the most important thing. If you can have dominant daddy energy come from this like, oh, you're a silly little girl, oh man, like, fuck, I can't believe this girl. She's fucking wild. You're crazy, right? You can come from that energy, slow down a little bit. Like, I'm actively having to slow down, right? Have super just unbreakable eye contact, smirk, fun, playful energy, right? And have fun with her above all else. Have fun with her. That's so important. So like when I'm talking about this energy, I'm like, right now I'm animated, blah, blah, blah. But when I'm with a girl, like, let me take a deep breath and kind of chill for a second. Okay. Yo, what's up? Like, this is how I am when I'm with a girl. I'm like, yeah, no, you look good. What's up? Like, I'm like pretending I'm talking to a girl right now. And so you can see that it's so much different. It's so much different than how I show up on camera. And so, most times holding masculine frame alone will just turn her on. But these are ways to kind of see, am I holding masculine frame? Because a guy that's holding masculine frame, he does have unbreakable eye contact. He's smirking. He's playful, right? He doesn't take himself too seriously. It's all good. Okay. Let's talk about the topics though. Your energy is going to be everything when it comes to verbal escalation. But I do want to talk about like the icing on the cake, which is the topics. Okay. And so with verbal escalation, you obviously, same thing as physical escalation. You want to start slow, but you can start in better positions by having better topics that you typically talk about. And so this is what all the guys want. They're like, oh my God, give me the topics and I'll never run out of things to say. It's just not true. You need to still, at the end of the day, remove all those filters you have telling you, oh man, like this isn't good enough to say. That's not funny. Not thinking that what you say has value. All these things are still holding you back, but I can give you some examples of topics that are really good. So you want to stick to sexually adjacent topics. So what do I mean by that? Topics that if you took them to the extreme, sex would most likely be involved. So I'm going to give you some examples. Crazy adventures. There's probably a lot of crazy adventures that have happened that had sex involved, right? There's probably, the craziest thing you've ever done might have been sexual, right? Especially with a girl that's like a sexual person or she's had a boyfriend or whatever, right? Past date stories. Those might have ended in sex, right? But, well, dates end in sex. Bad or funny dates, right? And that's what I would stick to. I wouldn't be like, hey, describe to me like the best date you've ever been on. That's fucking cringe, right? Like you're sitting there and she's telling you about this guy that like flew her out to like go scuba diving or some shit. Like you don't want that. But ask her about like, what was like the worst date you've ever been on? And then have a story of your own, right? Scandal or drama. Like I know I said like don't talk about this a lot, but the thing is you shouldn't be emotionally invested in the scandal or drama, but you should let her get excited about it. What's some dramatic shit? But don't let her, and this is key, don't let her just go on and on about like, oh, my friend did this and that's bad. Like, keep it positive. It should be positive and funny. Okay. Just generally spontaneous topics. Okay. And this is just to help her feel safe and not judge of being more sexual with you. Because you can start by saying, what was the craziest shit you've ever done? Right. And you can start by like something small, and then eventually maybe it leads to her telling you a story about sex, and then you like laugh at it and you're like, oh my God, that's fucking crazy. And then later she's going to feel a lot more safe about having sex with you. Right. And just having these more sexual topics, but not needing to latch on to them. A lot of guys, and this is very important, don't latch on to sexual topics. Like, a lot of you guys are way too easily like knocked off course when a girl talks about something sexual with you. And that is just as bad as passing a shit test. You're showing her weakness, like, straight up, right? But this does open up a more natural avenue to getting more sexual with your words. And you can eventually like get more and more sexual as you go. I think at some point, something you guys got to know is that you got to let her know that you like what you see. Okay. And you don't need to say this like straight up, but I'm going to give you the mindset around compliments and how to tell her you like what you see. Okay. The whole point is to not be a little bitch. It's just to not be a little bitch about it. Right. Don't be a pussy. You don't need anything from her. You're not telling her. If you start telling her that she's attractive because you're hoping that she will like you more because of it, you will kill all attraction and you will kill everything with this girl. You just thought like, say you tell a girl like she looks fine as hell, right? You just thought she did look fine as hell in that dress. And you just said it, and that's it, and that's all. All right. So, the key to the key to verbal escalation is that you can't be afraid to tell her what you're thinking about her sexually. Okay. And you shouldn't be telling her everything. Okay. You need to let her imagination work, but you can't be afraid that she'll find out you're sexual. Okay. So a lot of this comes down to your energy, being totally okay with her finding out that you are a sexual person. And just have this general like sex god frame. Like, the guy that fucks, the real G, moves in silence, right? You don't have to talk about it. You don't have to talk about it. You can just offhandedly mention like, oh yeah, I was with my friend the other day and she said blah, 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 right? And that type of shit, it goes a long way to tell her like, hey, I get it. I've been there. I've done that. She wants a guy that's been there. She wants a guy with experience. She wants a guy that's been with women, that knows what he's doing. You obviously need to calibrate though. Like, if she's not comfortable talking about shit, don't fucking force it. Don't be weird. Right? Don't do that. Now let's move on to logistical. Okay. Logistical escalation is pretty simple. It's how is it that you're going to go home together or meet again? Okay. That's all it is. How simple is it to go home with her or to meet her again? Okay. So if you live next to the bar, that's great logistics, right? But if you live 3 hours away and, it'll take way more logistical escalation. All right. So I'm going to give you some tips for logistical escalation on the date, but there are going to be a lot more on this on week 6 because you're just not too worried about pulling super smoothly yet. But I do want to give you some ideas. So if you're at a date, like all your dates, just start moving around the venue. Like, I know you think it might be crazy. I know you think you're at a restaurant and so you're at this table and, blah, blah, blah. But like, sit at the table, get your first meal, and then maybe, even if you're like eating a meal, like eat your food and then be like, hey, let's go get dessert at the bar. Fuck it. Like, let's go grab a drink at the bar. Right? Or, hey, let's grab a drink at the bar. And then maybe you are meeting at a bar for drinks. Grab a drink at the bar, move outside later. Right? So drink at the bar, grab a drink outside. Right? There's another thing you can do, which is like grab a coffee inside, sit there, and then go for a walk around a park that's close. Venue hopping is really good for this. Okay. You need to start breaking out of the matrix. What is possible in my environment? What can I do to create a unique experience? What can I do to change up this environment as much as I can with what is around me? Because you can get away with a lot more shit. You could probably do some like weird shit, like tell the waitress while your girl's in the bathroom, like that it's her birthday, and just like, it'd be like a funny thing, right? Just get creative and be spontaneous. Okay. Like, you need to be a leader and make shit happen. Okay. So just make shit happen for yourself here. Now, this is the final thing. I want to talk about mixed signals when it comes to escalation. So you should be sending mixed signals. I'm going to talk about what that means. The best part about flirting is to keep her on her toes and push-pull her. Okay? So what I mean by this is by like you can physically de-escalate or push her away, like playfully shove her and tell her, I love you, right? And that creates a very, very fun dynamic. Or you can tell her, I fucking hate you, and give her a hug. Or you're so much fucking trouble, give her a hug, right? That is the most fun way to engage a woman in that way, all right? Now, when I'm talking about that, and I want you to take notes on that, like rewind that, listen to it again. You should be doing that all the time. If you're not right now, if you're not by natural nature, like telling the girl, God, I fucking, after you're vibing for a little bit, God, I fucking hate you. And then you give her a hug, or God, you're the fucking best. I love you. And then you like push her away. If you're not doing that kind of shit, it's super fun. So just do it. Okay. Next, I want you to have some swag to you. Okay. Easier, not harder, as you put in the work. What I meant by that, I just like read it word for word. I don't know. I'm a little tired when I'm doing this one. So it will get easier for you and not harder to have swag as you put in the work. Like this is the hardest point. Like you learning these skills now, this is the hardest point for you to get results because you're only going to get better. You're only going to get more high value. And so it's going to make sense that this is the hardest point in your life. So just understand it's always going to get easier. All this stuff, when you come back to this in 6 months and you rewatch it because you have lifetime access, it's only going to get easier. Okay. It will only get easier. All right. So next, sorry, my girl was texting. So I want you to have a deep voice, slow down, have a strong, deep eye contact with her. Okay. This is what I was talking about earlier when I turned my cam on. I'll show you again. Like just really locked in, right? Slow down. It's all good. Hey, what's up, baby? Like that. I want you to start to have that kind of energy to you. All right. And I want you to ultimately just like have fun, play with your food a little bit. Okay. Have a little bit of fun, play with your food. All right. You know she likes you, so you can just fuck around with it a little bit. Just have a little bit of fun. There's no point in not having fun. Why would you waste your time? You're a high value man. You're on your way to being a high value man, whatever the fuck. Why would you waste your time not having fun with this girl and sending some mixed signals, playing with your food a little bit? All right. I'll see you guys in the next training.